I consider bodybuilding philosophical, very much so. I'll give anything. I'll give total commitment to do it. I must do it to the best or better than I can possibly do it to my ability.
Welcome to the Enduring Aesthetics Podcast. I'm Daniel Casas. I run Enduring Aesthetics. This is Clint. Clint, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name's Clint Emshoff, and I guess as a hobby, I'm a silver era and golden era historian, essentially, and book writer now, I guess I can claim. So,
Yeah. You just finished writing Steve Reeves' bodybuilding journal and analysis.
Yeah, I have. It's doing really well. I want to thank you guys out there for buying it. It seems like it's being bought, at least. Like I said, I think I told you earlier during the week that it cracked the top 50 for books and health,
awesome.
Health and fitness. So it's doing really well. I knew there'd be interest in it, obviously, with a name like Steve Reeves, but it's gone further than I thought it would. And we've only been selling it for 10, 11 days now. So
Awesome. So we got Clint, bodybuilding historian, bodybuilding enthusiast here. We would just want to get together every week and talk about classic bodybuilding stories.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got a interesting story today. I think I was telling you that nobody really knows about this. I've looked for it on YouTube and Google, and it's a relatively unknown story about the 1968 NABBA Mr. Universe contest in London. This was the third Mr. Universe contest that Arnold Schwarzenegger competed in. The first one in 1966 was for the amateur Mr. Universe. There was two categories, amateur and professional. In his first contest in 1966, he lost to Chet Yorton, an American, and then the next year,
right?
Yeah, that's what Chet claims. To this day, I think he's still around.
Do you believe it? You think he was?
Man, it's so hard to tell. So hard to tell. I mean, he looked great at that show, without a doubt. But he was on the natural bodybuilding wagon before it was even built, I think. So, I mean, he's claimed to be natural for a long time now, and I would think that it's believable for sure.
That'd be pretty impressive if it is.
Right. Of course, I mean, Arnold looked great then too, but he was 19 years old back in '66. He was really just.
How long he had been? Do you know how long he had been training at that point?
I think Arnold started around when he was 15, so I guess it would have been about 4 years.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, back then Arnold was bulky. It really wasn't until America that he started to, define himself and try to get the cuts and things like that. And the European bodybuilders were kind of late to the party as far as that goes. That was something that the American bodybuilders really started, was not just wanting the bulk, but also trying to become defined as well.
Right.
So he lost the contest to Chet, like you said, who very well could have been natural. The next year, his big competition was Dennis Tenorino for the amateur, and he was able to beat Dennis in 1967. So he won the NABBA 1967 amateur Mr. Universe. And then we come to this contest, which was the 1968 Pro Mr. Universe contest. And
so winning originally that first show entitles him to pro status to then go on the next year.
Right. Okay. Exactly. And really, for the pro contest, it was really a slow year. I mean, you look at some of the names that he competed against in this contest, and you haven't heard of any of them. Looking at it right now, John Bubb, Nicholas Klaber, Jacques Louvier. Those were some of the people that competed against him in the tall division. There was tall and short. And his biggest competition came from the short division, and it was Freddy Ortiz, who I know you're familiar with. Freddy, for a smaller guy.
Pictures
Oh
with
yeah,
the crazy rib development.
Yeah. He had some great vacuum shots, and small guy, 5'5", but 190 pounds of muscle. I mean, he looked great, and Arnold knew that Freddy was going to be the guy to beat, and so of course in typical Arnold fashion, even though he was only 21 years old, he still had that cockiness to him, and still wanted to, even back then, right? Arnold was all about mind games, and so reading about it, he basically backstage when they're pumping up, getting ready to go out for the prejudging. He goes and purposely tries to find Freddy Ortiz. And again, this story comes directly from another bodybuilder named Les Spendlove, who was the 1965 Mr. Australia, won a couple of other smaller things. And Les wasn't there to compete. He was there to help Freddy, help him pump up before the contest, put some oil on him, things like that. And so this story comes from him. He basically says that he was backstage helping Freddy pump up, put oil on, and stuff like that. And he says, all of a sudden he sees Arnold standing in the doorway. And then Arnold says, "I've come to see the great Freddy Ortiz. Where is this little man?" is what he says. And then
Classic Arnold.
Yeah, and so he's looking around. Of course, Arnold's 6'2", so he's 9 inches taller than Ortiz. So he's sitting there looking around, acting like he can't see him because Freddy's so small. And then he says, there he is. I thought it was a little mouse on a chair," is what he says.
Wow.
And trying to get into Freddy's head. And Les said that the whole thing didn't faze Freddy at all. He's still there, pumping up. Didn't even look at Arnold, acted like it didn't even bother him at all. And then after he was done pumping up, Les said that all of a sudden Freddy took out a bottle of whiskey and took a shot. And so Arnold comes over there and basically asks him, whiskey? Why are you drinking whiskey before the contest? And then so Freddy tells him that I drink this before the contest because it helps me. It brings the veins out. It makes you look more vascular. It makes you look better. And anyway, so the short class competed first in the prejudging. So Freddy leaves and goes out to pose for the judges and stuff like that. And he gives Arnold the bottle of whiskey, and we all know that Arnold, he would do anything it took to win. And he's
everything to the extreme.
Absolutely, and he said that. I mean, in his autobiography, he said back then, if you would have told me I needed to eat dog shit to look the best, I would have done it. That's how hungry I was. That's how much I wanted it. Anyway, so Freddy gives him the bottle of whiskey, goes out to pose, and it's probably 30 minutes or so before then the tall class goes out to pose for the prejudging, and all of a sudden, Les Spendlove is out there watching Arnold pose, and this is a direct quote from him. He says, "So now standing in front of me from my excellent vantage spot was the lineup of the 1968 Pro Universe tall class with Arnold in the middle, and I was totally shocked. He looked absolutely terrible, and I could tell he was drunk. His upper body was leaning back. His shoulders were drooped. His pecs appeared to be sagging. His stomach seemed bloated and hanging out. His legs weren't flexed. His eyes were half closed, and he was swaying a little too. I was stunned.
Oh my God.
I was stunned and amazed at his appearance, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I thought, what's happened to Arnold? And then he says, this astonishing sight soon came to an abrupt end, though, because some guy who sounded like he had a German accent and standing somewhere to the side of me shouts, "Arnold, stick in the gut." And then he says, almost immediately, Arnold's eyes opened wide. He sucked in his stomach, flexed his upper body and legs, and instantly became the bodybuilding sensation everyone knew and admired. And it obviously didn't affect him too much because he still ended up winning the contest and beating Freddy Ortiz.
So he still won anyway.
He won anyway. Yeah. He was drunk for the prejudging, and but apparently didn't know where he was for a bit of it. But somebody told him, "Hey."
So he had to have been back there taking a good number of shots.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like Ortiz knew that he was going to do. He landed him hook, line, and sinker, and gave him that whiskey bottle. And like I said, Arnold had about 30 minutes to sit back there and just drink whiskey. And apparently he overdid it. So, but it was a really.
Do you think?
It was a really weak universe contest. So, in some of the other years, it sounds like he would have lost, doing something like this. But
Wow. Do you think that played a role at all in Arnold's, essentially mind games that he used to play on other people, like Classic with Louis and Pumping Iron?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you read the stuff from back then, and even some of the stuff that Arnold's admitted to, and he was the best, and just like he would do anything to be the best, he knew that these bodybuilders who were coming to him for advice would do anything too, and some of the stuff that he's told them to do is just ridiculous. I think the worst thing I read, I forget how much, but he told somebody that you need to take something like eat like 5 tablespoons of salt or something like that, and the guy did it, but that's how much people respected him and wanted to be him. But of course, Arnold, being Arnold, took advantage of that, and then of course, Pumping Iron, he talks about the story of making the guy scream while he goes through his poses, and how that's going to help him win because it's going to draw more attention to himself and things like that. So Arnold,
he had a little bit of that himself when he was younger.
Yeah, he got the same treatment, really early on in his career, and you would think that maybe that would have been a turning point for him. Maybe he would have thought, all right, I need to stop with these mind games. This is what it feels like, right, when the shoe's on the other foot. But
but apparently not.
No, apparently not. So,
guys, I hope you enjoyed that story. We plan on doing this consistently and regularly moving forward. We're going to be talking about classic bodybuilding, old stories from the past. Clint is chock full of all kinds of crazy stories and weird articles that he's read and that he's got scanned for me that we're going to be sharing with you guys that I think you're really going to be enjoying. And Clint, I just want to thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe, guys.
Absolutely. Subscribe and like the video if you did like the video, and we'd love to hear what you think in the comments. So we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.